Hello everyone and welcome to a quick fix in the world of Mark 1 focuses. I'll be brief to the point. I usually am. No, I'm not. So, since the start of this year, I've had a consistent issue with my remote key. Now this will not apply to Nick, your CL. No CLs had remote central locking. It was just literally central locking with a key, the old-fashioned way since pretty much the 1980s when central locking became a bit more standard amongst mainstream cars that you and I can buy anyway. This car has had one consistent issue, and this remote has basically given up. It stopped working. It literally, no matter what button I press, there is no response from this car whatsoever. Boot, doors, nothing. Unlocking, locking, nothing. But it will still work in the door lock. So if you're having a problem with the remote key and it is not, basically the car is not reacting to any of these buttons, just check. Yeah. It is reacting. There you go. Completely reacting, okay? That will rule out any central locking issues that isn't to do with this, okay? If it's not reacting like that, you've got a central locking fault at the door end. Probably the doors. However, I'm going to go into something in a second which might rule that out as well. But basically, just check that, okay? Going to the motorist in April, Tadas, you'll be a witness to this. This was the first time I had problems trying to lock and unlock the car. The car wouldn't lock. We pulled up at a services and I couldn't lock it. I was like, what's going on? So I had to put the key really close to where the GM module is located by your right foot, where the ECU is, okay? If you've got a pre-facelift car, it's not really known as the GEM module. It's known as just a generic central locking module. They changed it later on just to give it a fancy name. But literally, there was no reaction with this key whatsoever. Eventually, I got it to work, but I had to actually virtually put it on the wing here, and then it sort of reacted. Why was that happening? Well, I was scratching my head. I'm thinking, it's the battery. Number one thing, always change the battery, guys. A CR2032 cell battery. Try and get a Duracell, something nice. I haven't, and sometimes I pay dividends to that. The one in here is a cheap one at the moment. But it was good enough for the purposes of finding the fault on this. And gradually throughout this year, every time I've come to this car, and it's been in the back of my mind for months, why is this getting worse? It's getting intimately worse and worse and worse. It started, I think, last year where I lost the range in it. I mean, I could literally go as far as a few meters away. Now, I'll tell you something about Mark 1s. I have never with this car been able to walk the required distance away that Ford claimed the key will work from, which is about 5 to 10 meters. I think 10 meters more or less, and the key will work. I've never had that, ever. I bet you haven't either. Maybe you should do a test, because you'll be able to do a test after I've shown you this fix. So just ignore that. As long as I'm not being funny, why is it necessary for it to work when I'm by the Jag over there? No, why do I need it to do that? I just need it to open as soon as I kind of get within this distance. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Some people are fussy. But I discovered yesterday what the problem was, and it might be to do with the spare second-hand fob that I've bought. I bought a cheap second-hand fob because there was one problem with this. Well, not this one, because I've done the swap. My buttons weren't clicking. Let me introduce you to this down here. This half, so we've split the fob into two halves. By the way, the key blade just comes off with a screwdriver. We don't need the key blade, okay? It's a bit warm. Mine's a bit warm, but I've got a spare one. The fob will then split into two halves. The back side of it, I can't use this officially, and I'll tell you why. But it was a good, basically, way of testing things. I have a CR2032 cheap battery in here, a lithium 3-volt battery, okay? And we have this one, this key fob has come off a later Focus. After about mid-2003, they switched from the glass chip, which I'm going to show you in mine, to the plastic chip in here. It looks very, very different, but basically it means I can't use this because Wow, I'm having to prize this out and put that one in, but I didn't want the back of it anyway. I've got my nice badge. I can't remember where I got the badge from, but it was on eBay and it fits perfectly. They're all missing them over time. The originals just fell off. I've very rarely known one to stay on at this stage. But basically, this is useless to me, really, unless I put another chip in it. But I'll keep it. But anyway, I wanted to know why this key was not reacting with the gem module. Now, I will make it very clear here, guys. There's a lot of stupid rumours on the forums going back a long time with central locking issues. This fob sends a radio frequency straight to the gem module. There is a receiver inside the module itself, okay? That will operate the central locking whichever way, like where you've unlocked, locked, or pressed the boot button. It will react accordingly to what that radio frequency is telling it. It's as simple as that. There's no receiver in the headline, and I've seen posts where people are saying, oh, there was a receiver in the headline and then that directs a signal to the gem module. Rubbish. I don't know if they're referring to Mark 2s, but with Mark 1s, it's a simple fob radio signal to the gem module or the central locking module. It's very simple. And it's a very simple system. There's very few things that go wrong. The gem module, I've never known to go wrong. So I wanted to rule that out completely. However, I've just bought a second-hand one because I found one with the exact same serial number. You must buy one with the same serial number as your car if you want a replacement or you just want a spare. I bought it for 12 quid second-hand. Why not? Stuff like that may not be cheap in the future, so it's going in my spare hoard. Particularly in the future when I think things that never fail, gem modules I've never known to fail. They could start failing in the future because at the end of the day, it's an electronic component. So don't rule it out and don't dismiss things because, oh, they've never known to go wrong. So sometimes don't listen to what I say. Go with your instincts. But in this case, it's definitely not the gem module because the fault is with the key. I'm just going to take this off. Oh, come on. Sometimes it's very reluctant to come off these days. Right. So that is my glass ID60 chip. If you have a glass ID60 chip, a mobiliser chip, you will need to get another one. You cannot and will not be able to program. I can't program that to my mobiliser because it's designed to take the ID60 chip, which is a different radio frequency signal. You can't interchange, okay? Just a little tip with the immobiliser side of things. So if this is broken, if you've got an immobiliser fault and your immobiliser stuck on and that's stopped working, which they can do, you need to replace on like for like. So if you've got one of these, you need to get another one, an ID60. I think this is an ID45 or someone's going to correct me there. I can't remember which number this was, but you need to get one of these, okay? So if you've got a Focus around 2003, you could have one or the other. Sort of mid-2003 is when they switched from this to this. This was more common, became standard in Mark 2s, okay? But if you've got a pre-2003 car like mine, you've got a glass one like this, so you don't need to, well, you don't need to find out, but you can find out just in case. It might have been messed with, you never know. Now, I've opened mine up, and it's got a, oh, I thought it was a Duracell. No, it's a Unicell. Oh, it's a cheap one. Right, so I'm just going to put this down on the floor and I'm going to show you what the problem is. What I've done is, this was my original fob. This has been on my keyring as of yesterday since I bought the car. Unfortunately, we're getting a click from there, but the unlock, you can't hear a click. It's like the buttons collapsed inside. I can't get a click. It's been like that for years. Look, hear that, right? It's like the button has collapsed on the inside of that circuit board. I want to take this apart to see what's going on, but it is made by Siemens and they are very high quality. Now, I believe that this is not broken for the reason it isn't. It's definitely not broken. I thought it was. So I bought this fob for this circuit board, which is here. I bought that fob for that because I wanted to see whether I had a circuit board problem, because this is what it is. This is what is programmed to the gem module, this circuit board, okay? It's not the immobiliser chip, it's got nothing to do with it, not the battery, it's just the battery is what powers this, okay? This is useless without that battery, so you have to have two sides connected, obviously. But this is what literally links to the gem module to open the doors remotely. So I want to swap this. Just swap it, see what happens. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I put this on the current battery case, because this is the problem. I had to, because I couldn't use the new one, because I'd have to prise that out and swap the immobiliser chips. I didn't fancy that, just for the sake of it. So I had to reuse the back of my old one. So this is the back of my old one, with the front of the second-hand one that I bought, which is absolutely rubbish. That's rubbish. But this one works perfectly fine. Look at that. Click, click, click. Lovely. Okay? And the circuit board is all good. Okay? Now, I'm just going to bring you in here to my knee. You see these parts of the circuit board? We've got some contact plate there and a contact plate there. Okay? That is where the battery connections connect to. So you've got one there, and you've got a few connections on this side where that bronze plate is, right? One there and one here. Okay? That is where these battery connections connect to. So if I can just show you rightly, you've got some battery connections here. They are them. Okay? That's the connection between that and that. Okay? This connection here goes here. That is the main connection from the battery to the circuit board. This is what powers the circuit board. These prongs are the ones that actually control whether you lock, unlock or boot lock. Look, there's three marks. Okay, hopefully you can see that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so well, this is the main connection, but there's 3 connections there. So this is the switching part. This part is just the power. And guess what was wrong with mine? You are going to have to look at your key fobs, ladies and gentlemen. I found the problem. Because when I looked at the new one, so what I did is I just put the battery, a good battery, or the one that I thought worked, in the new fob, put my old key blade on, even though the immobiliser chip wouldn't have turned the immobiliser off. And I programmed it successfully into the immobiliser. 4 quick turns in the ignition, you hear the beep, click any button, and I hear a second beep. It wasn't doing that with my old key. Because with my old key, I tried it a few days ago where I tried to reprogram it. You can do that. Just reprogram it into the gem module where you turn the key in the ignition 4 times. You hear a beep. I press the button. Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was no signal going to the gem module. That's what the other bit, the second beep confirms that it's programmed. It would not program my current key that I've had with me for 11 years. Why? It certainly did that with the new one. I put the new one on, tested it straight away, and it beeped. So then I set about trying to find out what was wrong with the current one, and I found the problem. On my old one, I'm just going to mimic this because this is important. This is the connection that connects the battery to the circuit board, okay, like I've said. This one does the switching. This goes to the bit of the circuit board that does the switching between lock, unlock, boot. This is the important one. Look at that tag. That middle tag, there's 3 little tags. This one was bent down. Look at the new one. It's bent up. It's sticking out like a mile. And I thought, that must be it. This little middle one, that's the one that makes contact with the circuit board there. That's that little mark there. So that's what's happening. It's not making contact. And I put it together, and lo and behold, it worked. It worked like an absolute treat. And it doesn't just work well. I've got range back. That is a good range for a Mark 1. In fact, just give me a second. Not quite. I'd say I'm about 4 meters away. Yeah, 4 meters, there you go. That's the range of my key now. I've got the range back. Before it was about here. Well, before the end, like I said, I had to go to the driver's door where the gem module was. Honestly, I now have my key back. All because this damn tab was bent backwards. Where is it? It's gone, literally. So why has that happened? So I'm just going to bend it out like that. There you go. There you go. And I'll clip that together and that will work. I'm going to keep that in my spares. So, why does that happen? I've got this theory now on why certain things happen. And I think, over time, personally speaking, the pushing of these buttons, see, it's reacting perfectly fine now. I think the pushing of these buttons over time puts enough strain on that tab and pushes it backwards. So as I'm pushing this way, the tab is also being pushed backwards over the years. So please guys, make sure that stupid little tag is connected to the circuit board. I wonder how many Mark 1 owners have got problems with either non-functioning remotes or intermittently functioning remotes or lack of range as well. Go and do it. Get your fobs open and sort that tag out, and you might be surprised that it's not battery related. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave you be. I'm delighted. I've still got a spare gem module coming, and that's my other point. Like I said, gem modules don't go wrong on Mark 1s. I've never known them to go wrong, and there's nothing wrong with this one. But that is not to say they are not going to cause a problem in the future. They are an electrical item. I will no doubt try and get a spare ECU for this car in time. It's worthwhile having a look at these things, because the problem is I've done so many videos on common issues with Mark 1s. They are relevant and they have helped people, and I'm glad they've helped people. But at the same time, there's loads of other problems that are not covered in them videos that these cars are now experiencing. Anything from A to Z, these cars have got it. They're old cars. In fact, I don't think there is really such a thing as common problems no more. There's problems that are more likely to happen, but anything can happen. And just because a gem module has never really failed from what I've seen in the Focus Mark 1 scene, that doesn't mean to say that they won't fail. They're just unlikely to. And that's what the way you should see a Mark 1. Most things can go, but most are unlikely to go. And if you view it that way, I think you're on good stead. But I've got a spare one, just emergencies. £12, what can I say? Anyway, look after yourselves, take care guys, and sort those key fobs out.